What's going on, guys? Tony K, Urban Girl Scout Media, living the dream. Time to do some off the rails. And today we're going to talk about Miles Garret, Mason Rudolph, Cleveland Browns, the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going back to that story. Today's date is February 17th, 2020. Good grief. Over the past weekend, we had, so let's just say the past 4 days. I believe we'll cover everything. 4 days ago, we'll start there. Miles Garret reinstated after his quote-unquote indefinite suspension. He was just suspended for the last 6 games of the season for altercation he had with Mason Rudolph on like November 14th, I think. Over the weekend, an Outside the Lines interview with Mina Kimes aired, in which Miles, he basically, let's stick to the facts. I don't want to go into any details yet, but he basically, for the first time since, voiced in an interview his side of things. Then comes today, and if you love or hate the Steelers, I'm a huge Steelers fan, so it's going to seem biased, but Mike Tomlin's a guy of integrity for the most part when it comes to real life shit that's outside the lines of football. If you caught his speech today, his interview on ESPN's First Take, that was pretty interesting. But he definitely came out today and supported Mason Rudolph. It's important to note that Mike Tomlin is African American, and this really stems back to the reason I'm pointing that out is Miles Garret stated that one of the reasons he became so enraged is because he heard Mason Rudolph use an inappropriate slur towards him, possibly a "you stupid N-word." The NFL, which everybody coming into this issue already has a preset image of the NFL, of how the NFL handles sensitive matters. Ray Rice, Colin Kaepernick, Tom Brady, Deflategate, Spygate, the list goes on. Greg Hardy, the Saints Bountygate, like just the inconsistency, domestic abuse, all those things. So the NFL apparently did a thorough investigation of these accusations, and Mike Tomlin stated plain and clear that what the Steelers were told by the league is that the stories from both the Steelers and Browns players did not corroborate with Miles Garret, that they could not find anything from anybody mic'd up or any of the technology used on the field. There's stories that it may or may not have been muted. Listen, until someone confirms that, we can only go off of what's factually true. If in 6 months it comes out that the NFL covered it up, then that's new information. But based on the information we have, and I'm in the same boat as Mike Tomlin on this one when I go with that, they didn't find anything. So I found Miles Garrett's interview very unnecessary. He definitely had I don't want to say a smug or arrogance at times to him that he was in the right and got done wrong, but I definitely felt that when he started with I'm ready to move on past it, but then said shortly thereafter, well, this is my chance to tell my side of the story, then you're not done. You're not ready to move on past it. You're actually still ready to talk about it. The other thing is he has to know that all the players that were talked to on his team didn't corroborate his story. And his responses to this have just been really baffling. I've seen people called racial slurs before, and they don't react that calm. They do not act that calm. They don't let that fly. So, again, with all the information presented, I have no choice but to come to the conclusion that Miles Garret did not hear Mason Rudolph say that slur. Again, with the information that is presented to me here. I would not be surprised if it comes out the NFL covered this up somehow or another. I think that would be incredibly stupid for them because of how racist that would make them look. But if there is truth to that story of muted microphones and whatnot, then I think you have to go down that path separately. So I found Miles Garret a little bit, just his I guess I'd say his persona was not that of somebody that had been racially insulted and then wrongly suspended, if that was the case. Because if that's the case, you know what? If you, in this day and age, are that dumb to get on a football field and say something like that to another human being, let them have at you. But again, the evidence that we've been presented shows that it didn't take place. I think what went down, which before I get to this, I do want to point out that none of this takes place. None of this takes place if Miles Garret has the wherewithal to realize his team is up 2 possessions with about, 15 seconds left against a backup quarterback who would have to have 2 80-plus yard drives to tie the game or win the game. He did not have to drive at Mason Rudolph. He didn't have to play him that aggressively. He kind of antagonized an issue. Even if we didn't have this racist commentary going on, I'm sure that would be talked about if a fight had broken out. So I think that's important that we realize, read the room, man. Like, you won the game. You had no reason to line it up on the quarterback like that. Coach ain't going to cut you over that. Trust me. I'm not an expert, but trust me. So, what I think happened was there was a scuffle that happened right as the play ended. And I do believe he heard the N-word. I wholeheartedly believe it. I do not believe it came from Mason Rudolph. I don't know who it came from, because I don't remember all the players exactly where they're at, but my personal guess is Mason Rudolph did not say it based on the info we have. I'm confident saying that. But I think that Miles Garret heard it, possibly from one of the other Steelers players or maybe one of his fellow linemen. I don't know. I don't want to believe that he would make something up like that, because at that point, that is character. That's like an attack on your character. And then at that point, everyone who made fun of Mason Rudolph for, is his daddy and him gonna call a lawyer? Well, I would, because people, we live in this cancel culture, and if he would have done it, he'd be canceled. So he got accused of it wrongly, and he was considered guilty before we even knew if he was innocent in some circles, because he looks the part. I mean, let's be honest, this is a pretty white boy. And he was, I mean, it would have been very to the course for a white guy to be in that spot and say something like that. White people have done plenty of dumb shit like that, so I get it. But with the evidence presented right now, I do not believe that it was Mason Rudolph. I do not believe that he said a racial slur. The fact that both sides have corroborated that he did not say that. The fact that Miles Garret did not have a single teammate line up his story. The fact that the Cleveland Browns have not been blowing this up to make a bigger deal of this. The Browns, people. The Browns. This is the Cleveland Browns. The trashiest of trash franchises. And they're not trying to get this win, because this is an easy win. If it happened, that's an easy win. And, last but not least is Mike Tomlin is a leader of men on and off the football field. For a decade, I've heard nothing but great things about him as a human being. I'm not saying he's perfect, but when it comes to life decisions and hot topic buttons like this, I trust his judgment. So if and I really encourage, because I'm going on about 11 minutes here, the Miles Garret interview is about 6 or 7 minutes. The Mike Tomlin interview, 6 or 7 minutes. Watch both of them. You just got 30 minutes of great entertainment. Outside of that, what do you guys think? I hope you're enjoying these off the rails. My name is Tony K, and that was just talking about Miles Garret, Mason Rudolph, the Browns, the Steelers, and the inappropriate use of the M word possibly being done, I guess. I don't even know what to title this. Thanks.